Good morning from Newgrange. My name is Claire Tuffy, and on behalf of the Office of Public Works, we are delighted to welcome you here on this beautiful, clear morning. We're hoping for a lovely sunrise, and we're thrilled to have so many people join us from all over the world. We're being watched live on the Discover Ireland website, Irish Central, Fáilte Ireland, Discover Boyne Valley, and We Are Irish, as well as the government.ie website. With me here this morning is my long-time colleague and dear friend, Dr. Frank Prendergast, who is one of Ireland's premier, perhaps the premier, archaeoastronomer. And he's here to help us explain the importance of this alignment at this monument, which was built over 5,000 years ago. Good morning, Frank.
Good morning, Claire. And what a pleasure and an honour it is to be with you this morning. And I think we're blessed looking at the sky, so we're fortunate. We're here this morning, Claire, to celebrate the Winter Solstice or the Midwinter Solstice. We're north of the equator, 53.5 degrees, which puts us halfway to the poles and from the equator. At a place like this, if you were to stand all year round, not that you would, and watch the sun rise day on day or set, you would notice it swing through about 90 degrees on the horizon, from summer solstice down to winter. We're now one day short of the winter solstice. And what that means is that it is the day of shortest daylight, longest darkness. And after tomorrow, that will reverse and flip. So we can look forward to the prospect of brighter days and banish the darkness. That's our hope. The passage tomb at Newgrange is aligned on the rising sun at midwinter sunrise. And it is a phenomenal feat of engineering achievement in the Neolithic 5,000 years ago. There is no other tomb as large as this in Ireland that exhibits this phenomenon so clearly and so demonstrably. The passage is long and it's narrow, and it has a roof box, a special construct, which allows the light of the rising sun to penetrate the chamber at darkness. And here we go.
Just looking at the screen, we can see the horizon beautifully framed through the roof box. Now, there are a few clouds on the horizon, but we have a good few minutes to wait yet until the sun breaks through. So I'd be optimistic that we will have a beautiful sunrise. And I always think there's a great pleasure and a great privilege to be able to stand here and watch the sun at Newgrange in a place where people gathered 5,000 years ago. And for me, the solstice is always about remembering, not just remembering my own experiences of solstice here, but remembering all the generations before us who have watched sunrise at the winter solstice and wished for longer days and wished for new beginnings.
Absolutely. And if I look at Newgrange, it is primarily a burial tomb, a chamber which contained the cremated remains of the dead and their grave goods and adornments. But it's much, much more than that. And archaeology will tell us that the broader, wider meaning of tombs such as this extends into so many facets of human existence and living in the Neolithic. So we now look at these monuments in a much broader, wider sense. And Gabriel Cooney at UCD would have coined the term complex to describe these tombs. So we look at the meaning, the deeper meaning to people in the Neolithic. And we can examine and think about that as the morning rolls out.
Yeah, nice glow on the horizon now, just looking off into the southeast. This is another thing that always strikes us, the people who work here at Newgrange. You know, when you're not used to watching sunrises at various times of the year, people are inclined to think that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west.
Yes.
But at this time of the year, the sun is rising over 60 degrees south of east.
That's right.
And it is only at equinoxes, when day and night are equal, that the sun rises way off over there to the east.
Yeah.
So this is as far south as it will go. These are the shortest days, and this evening when the sun is setting, it sets far south of west. So the arc in the sky is very low. And the people 5,000 years ago would have known all this, wouldn't they?
Absolutely would have. And if you think about people in the Neolithic, in prehistory, watching their sky, and their world in a way was a cosmology that divided their world into three levels: the underworld, the terrestrial landscape, and the sky above, which we call the skyscape. And the total domain of their environment was those three elements. And out of the horizon rose and set all of the celestial bodies. particularly the sun, and today our focus is on the sun, the supreme cosmic power that gave life and light to people at that time.
Just wait, I think, and enjoy that beautiful vista.
When waiting for the sun, that's an expression you use a lot, and I love it.
Yeah.
There is a tension, an excitement, an expectation about what is about to happen. And sunrise, for me, is always more dramatic than sunset.
Yeah.
Although we admire sunsets, but the sunrise is that arriving out of darkness and coming into light, and that rising orb of the sun, the upper limb appearing on the horizon when you can see it.
Yeah.
And that is a dramatic moment and is so meaningful and powerful.
And the thing that strikes me when I'm here at Newgrange, always waiting for the light, is this, it seems to reveal itself quite slowly. You know, you think it's just about to rise, and yet you're still waiting and waiting. And then when that first flash, as you describe it, comes, it seems to pick up speed.
It does, it does. And today we'll have imagery from the chamber, all cleverly constructed by our great National Monument Service and the Office of Public Works, to facilitate us to see inside the chamber, where normally you would be.
Yeah.
But today we're evicted.
Yeah. I must say, we miss our visitors. We miss the crowds that are here. It's not the same. It's been an extraordinary year, but yet the fact that we're not open to the public this year has given us an opportunity to see the light without visitors, which is something we have never seen before. Is that the first beam of light?
Just beginning now, I think, Claire?
Yeah.
And those views are coming from the roof box itself. What a privilege to be able to see that view. I've never seen this before.
No.
It's so extraordinary.
And then the horizon is on the same level as the slit in the box, in the bottom of the roof box. And then as you go into the chamber, the passage floor rises, so that first beam of light will hit the floor of the chamber. And there's the sun.
And of course we know from Professor Michael O'Kelly's excavations and restorations here at Newgrange in the 1960s and 70s that the roof box was blocked by quartz stone. And we suspect, due to the evidence of markings, that those stones were taken out and reinserted. And for me, that is telling us that there was control of the light, and that the people then, in a sense, were interrelating with the dead and the spirits of the dead within.
And if we could just see what's happening on the inside of the chamber, we might be able to see some light on the floor. This just explains. We'll go to a shot from the chamber. Still quite dark in there.
Quite dark inside.
Yeah. The sun, 5,000 years ago, the beam of light reached the inside of the chamber just at the moment the sun cleared the horizon. But nowadays it's a bit later. That
there
graphic,
is
yes.
a beautiful graphic, an animation of what is happening about now. And that whole phenomenon will last for 15, 20
17 minutes on
17
the 21st.
minutes.
If we could go back to the chamber and see what's happening there.
When we think of a monument like this, dedicated to the dead, but interrelated with the rising sun, in a way which, as far as I know, does not happen in any other monument, insofar as this roof box is special, it is unique. And I also do not know of any other megalithic passage tomb that also has a doorstone as large as the one here, which must have been in place to block out the light.
Yeah, so that no distraction. It's only the light from the roof
Only
box.
the light from the roof box, when opened,
Yeah.
was admitted. And how was that interpreted by people then? That is the great mystery.
You'd wonder if anybody was inside at this time, whether people gathered in great numbers out here, if they were as excited as we are this morning. I'm sure they were, knowing that the longest nights were almost over.
And we know from our astronomy that the tilt of the Earth's axis 5,000 years ago was different to what it is now.
Yeah.
Meaning,
Oh, there, look at
the sun
you can
rose.
see the sun, the glow of the sun in the passage now.
Here we go.
That's not quite in yet. That's what we call our ambient light, because we have to wait for some minutes until the sun is just a little bit higher before we can see that first, what Professor O'Kelly called the first pencil of light on the floor. So I think, oh, there it is.
Fantastic.
Fantastic. Happy solstice.
And this is what Michael O'Kelly first observed,
In 1967.
67, and wrote down his account and published it. This is the time to be economical with the words now, Claire. Just let it do the talking.
I'm just enjoying myself and looking at it and watching it. I think if we stay in the chamber and see what's happening there, it's how the sun moves across the floor that interests me, and how the whole chamber is lit up.
And what we can call the sun dagger, because that is how it looks on the floor, slowly creeps up the chamber, crosses the floor of the chamber,
And then begins to recede.
and reaches now to the end recess.
Yeah.
But my good colleague Professor Tom Ray discovered some years ago that in Neolithic times the beam would have penetrated to the rear of the end recess and basin stone.
We have a camera on the suspended from the corbelled roof as well. I wonder if any pictures are coming through from it that we could look at. Although they're beautiful. And if we can go back to the chamber. Oh, look at that. That's the camera looking down from above onto the floor of the chamber. And now that is a dagger of light. So that's cameras suspended from the corbelled roof very carefully to capture the beam as it moves across the floor. This is part of the research project that we're doing, is just watching how the light moves. And we had a bit of break in transmission there as a little cloud scudded across the horizon.
We are so incredibly lucky to get this
On our first morning.
on the first morning.
Yeah. The deities were watching out for us.
When I see this, Claire, the word immutable
Yeah.
comes to mind. In other words, we are touching the ancestors.
Absolutely.
And we are experiencing something that 5,000 years ago was similarly experienced.
And perhaps if we could have a look from the camera on the floor again, just to see how that light is interplaying with the architecture of the passage. And you can see how bright it is inside now. The passage is just over 19 metres long. And the light is already going back down the passage.
So the retreat has started.
The retreat has started already. And the glow is just beautiful. One thing our visitors who come at this time of the year, they often wonder if it's so bright in the chamber. They wonder if it feels warm. And it's hope, I suppose, over reality, because it's certainly not, there's no great warmth to the sun at this time of the year. But the warm days are coming.
And we also know, Claire, that 5,000 years ago, sunrise was about 2 solar diameters to the right, so that the beam of light then, very likely, would have been much more intense. Not only did it penetrate further into the chamber, but would have been brighter.
Oh, and that's the view from the roof again. You can see how far down it has moved. The stone on the top right is the stone that meets where the passage meets the chamber. Oh, it's bright. Can we see the picture looking down the passage again, please? Still moving. It seems to have slowed down a little bit, lingering in the chamber.
And you're seeing there the ambient light and the direct light.
Yeah, the ambient light to the left of the picture.
Yes.
And the direct sunlight to the right.
Yes.
And you can see the difference in intensity. And that light is only coming through the roof box. Oh, that's beautiful.
There's a wonderful shot.
I wonder if the spirits of the dead appreciate being on their own this year.
And of course, we have no idea of the nature of the rituals
No,
in prehistory.
no.
Were people inside the chamber at this time, or were they not? We can only guess.
This shot now shows the view up the passage, and you can see at the top the light coming through the roof box. And the passage has a bend in it, and it's also very narrow. So the beam of light that reaches into the chamber from the roof box is very narrow. So if we can go back to the picture of looking back down the passage, you will see just how much gets, or how little light gets in. And I think as the light leaves the chamber, if we could just hold that picture and just enjoy the moment. Thanks. As the light lingers in the passage as it goes out, it will have left the chamber now, but it'll stay in the passage for a little bit. So it'll be receding back down the passage now. It has left the chamber. And if we can see the shot from the chamber looking back down the passage, we'll be able to see how the light almost seems as if it's in 3D. And I love the way the dust motes from the floor kind of fill the light. So it looks like a shaft of light.
It's also worth saying, Claire, that the megalithic art which adorns the structural stones of the passage and the chamber and the outside, in a sense, are all interrelated to what is happening this morning.
This is all very carefully planned. And there we have what I was trying to describe, the beam of light. So if we can just stay on that picture, please, till we just enjoy it. We can just enjoy it.
It's almost like the hand of God, inverted commas, if I could use that famous expression.
It makes such a difference having the door blocked,
Yes.
so that you can see the light only from the roof box.
Yes. And that was part of the innovation this year.
Yes.
The odds of getting this on the first day of our 3 days of transmission and to be able to share it with the world is just phenomenal.
Yeah. And we're here for another 2 mornings. And whereas this was the best weather forecast, tomorrow is looking pretty good. Okay, tomorrow too. But at the minute, we'll just enjoy what we have. And that view there is, again, the camera from the chamber roof.
Yes.
And you can see the light has left the chamber and is just slowly making its way back down the passage as the sun rises higher in the sky.
Yes.
What a light show. We've been so fortunate.
And the resolution of the camera is so good. You can pick out the individual grains on the floor.
Yeah. And our staff who work here at Newgrange, they go to great, Frank and John, who are here this morning, go to great put great effort into preparing the chamber for the arrival of the sun. And they sweep the sand very carefully, and they, with a rake, create spirals on the floor.
Reverentially, I hope.
Yeah, and we always appreciate it. And it just shows you how much the monument means to all of us who are associated with it. But as I said earlier, we miss our visitors so much. And we've had such good times here at Solstice. Mm-hmm. And I know, Frank, that you've been coming here for many a long solstice. And we meet friends here at Newgrange on these mornings that we don't meet except from solstice to solstice.
Correct.
So, we always say happy solstice, and that's no better message to give out to all our regulars is happy solstice. We miss you. We wish you were here.
I can't help reflecting on how Professor O'Kelly, in his time, could he ever have imagined the stupendous importance that this monument would become in our heritage and in our culture, nationally and internationally, and how year on year the numbers seem to grow and to celebrate what is happening here.
Yeah. And it is a cause for celebration. We've gone back to the beginning. The longest nights are over. We're safely launched into a new year. And I can hear some of the people who are on the road here beside us blowing the horn.
Having their celebration.
Which is nice. So it's gone from the chamber now, and there might be a little bit left in the passage. And it seems we've lost the light from outside, but it's going to be a lovely day. And there are people waiting at other monuments in other parts of the world waiting for similar. How significant is the winter solstice to people generally?
Good question. The solstice is two events, the midsummer or June solstice and the midwinter. And looking at our monuments and the alignments of some of them, not all, of course, are astronomically aligned, but some. And there is an equal sort of division between an interest in the summer solstice and the winter solstice. And then when you come to winter, there is a split between sunset and sunrise. So if we take the sunrise, for example, there are several monuments throughout Ireland where the same phenomena as today is happening, though nothing on the grand scale of what we see here, in terms of the length and width of the passage and the roof box in particular and the size of the chamber. But nonetheless, size doesn't matter in that sense. Some of them orientate on the rising sun at winter solstice, similar to what we've seen here this morning. And then there are others, and I can think of Knockrow in County Kilkenny, where Professor O'Sullivan has done all of his excavations and made the discovery down there of the setting sun at the winter solstice, but also the double chamber has a dual alignment. One is to the west and the other is to the southeast.
Isn't that
so there's actually a double phenomena going on there. And so throughout the island of Ireland, we're actually well endowed in comparison to other territories. And if you go to Orkney, you've got the famous Maze Howe, that fabulous chamber, and that's a sunset phenomenon, and that is widely celebrated there as well, and properly so. And then if we go to Anglesey, there is a passage tomb there, one of two, only two passage tombs, and one of them is also a sunrise at the summer solstice. So you get this interplay between sun and monument, but only in a select number. And why that is a deep mystery that we'll probably never understand.
But then, as your research showed, sometimes the monument with the alignment was the most important in a group, and then the other monuments focused on the top monument, if that's the way to do it.
And if you look at the passage tombs, which are probably the supreme example of megalithic tomb building in Ireland, they cluster. And we have a great cluster in the Boyne Valley over at Nowth. And we're talking about three megatombs here, Nowth, Dowth and Newgrange. They are gigantic. And the human effort to construct these, this one being 200,000 tonnes at least of water-rolled stones, transported stones. In the next two episodes, we'll be talking perhaps more in detail about the structure of these tombs. So that's something to look forward to tomorrow and the next day. But tombs cluster. And if you look at Newgrange, it's sitting on a ridge. It's high above the river and it has a vantage. And we're still getting a beautiful view there, Claire.
It's like a little afterglow. And it's just making its way slowly down the passage. You'd wonder what meaning the builders placed on that light. Was it simply a way of telling the time? I think not. I think it's far more than that. The symbolism of light in the darkness never leaves us.
Absolutely.
And the thing about Newgrange is it is so dark all year.
Yes.
And then when days outside are at their darkest, it's filled with light. And they cannot think but that it is a symbol of new life, new beginnings, new hope, and telling us all that no matter how dark and dismal it seems, the cycle begins again. And as the light fades down the passage, I suppose we're beginning a new year and we can look forward.
Totally. And I often think too that, there's this great debate. Were they precision instruments or were they designed for calendar and timekeeping? And my view would be the answer is no. Timekeeping may be a byproduct of the alignment, but the alignment, as you rightly say, is symbolic. And it is linking the monument, the dead, the funerary rites of the treatment of the remains of the dead with probably a deification of the sun in the sky and its rising position. And if we think about solstice, if you could imagine a gigantic pendulum and it is slowly swinging up and down the horizon from left to right over 6 months and then back again. And it is a slow, predictable journey that the sun makes through the year. And anyone watching the sun will intuitively know where it's going to be in a week's time or in a month's time. And these things are easily remembered. You don't need instrumentation to do it.
No.
It is pure observation, or what my good friend in the United States, Ed Krupp, would say, sky watching.
Yeah.
I like that word. You notice in that shot, Claire, how the structural stones, or what are called the orthostats, are kind of inclined inwards,
Yes.
especially as you near the chamber. And we do think that over time, the enormous pressure of the material overhead has caused these stones to lean inwards fractionally. And that has somewhat reduced the visibility of the horizon and the sun from the back of the chamber through the roof box. The roof box itself is intact, but these stones have changed.
Yeah, just the pressure of the monument.
Would you have the nerve to try and go in there and make them more upright, Claire?
No, because then you wouldn't have a 5,000-year-old monument, really. I don't know. I love the Newgrange we have. It is our Newgrange, as
Yes.
Professor Gabriel Cooney
Yes.
says.
Yes.
This is the Newgrange we have now.
Yes.
The people in the last century before it was conserved and restored had a different Newgrange.
Yeah.
And oh, that's lovely now. That's just the light from the roof box just glancing against the orthostats as it retreats. And as you said, some of those standing stones on the passage, on the wall, that make the wall of the passage, some of those are beautifully carved. And at this time of the year, the sunlight catches the art in a particular way.
I mean, when you think about the 1960s when Professor O'Kelly was here, and all of the young archaeologists who were there with him, and, they have become, so many of them, the eminent archaeologists of today. And it is their skills, their knowledge, and the prodigious work that not only the archaeologists employed by the state, but those in private enterprise, contribute to our understanding of the past.
Yeah. And it's lovely. We have a real Newgrange family, not only comprising of archaeologists and historians, but we have people who come to Newgrange regularly who have a real connection to the place. This is the kind of monument that changes your perception of life and death and
Yes.
the hereafter.
Yes.
And it also changes your perception of your place in the world.
Yes.
And I often think if we had an opportunity to go back 5,000 years and interview the builders of this great monument and say, what do you think now? I'd say they would be very pleased that they built a monument that lasted forever.
Yes.
And I know that you have done some research into when the light will not get into Newgrange, which is sometime way off in the future, but because the Earth's angle is
Yes.
changing relative to the sun,
Yeah.
there will come a time when the light can't get in.
Absolutely.
But what always interests me when you talk about that
Yeah.
is that there's always a presumption that the monument will be here.
Exactly.
And I think
yeah,
when they meant it'll last forever, they meant forever.
for sure. And for me, what's so special about this monument is the way that National Monument Service make it so accessible to the global audience who come here and can go into the monument and experience the chamber. And the team here, you know, your staff, your team, do a magnificent job.
Oh, we're very proud of all the
They
guys
are
that work
amazing.
here and tell the story of Newgrange again
Yeah.
and again with such great pride and such great insight
Yeah.
and feeling. And it becomes a very special place for all of us.
To me, this monument
Court behind us.
embodies our heritage, our culture, our very Irishness.
It's become a symbol of Ireland.
It is a symbol of Ireland, yeah.
Yeah. But it is lovely to see this white quartz
Yeah.
behind us, just
Yeah.
glistening in this.
And in the next 2 episodes, we'll have more time to talk about the archaeology of the monument, the source of the stones, the meaning of the stones, and why they invested so much labour and effort into building something so huge and so enormous.
And there we leave it for today. Who would have thought we would be so fortunate on our first broadcast this winter solstice? So I'd like to thank everybody for watching. It has been our pleasure to be able to share this with you, but it didn't happen by chance. So I'd like to thank all of the team involved in preparing for this morning's broadcast. I'd like to thank Dr. Prendergast, who has stood by my side here at Newgrange for many a long year. But most of all, thank you for tuning in and being with us and watching as the sun rises at Newgrange at winter solstice dawn. And we'll be here for the next 2 mornings, and hopefully we'll witness a sunrise as glorious as this morning. Frank, thank you.
Thank you, Claire.